Love, a word so simple, yet so complicated that even the smartest people struggle to define it. For years, Bill Gates had been asked about it, in interviews, books, and even casual conversations. People wanted to know, what does love mean to a man who already has everything? He always gave a polite smile, a clever answer. Something like, love is about respect, understanding, and partnership. It sounded good, professional, wise, safe. But deep down, he knew he didn't really understand it. Because truthfully, Bill had always loved ideas more than people. He loved solving problems, building things, and improving systems. But the human side, emotions, affection, vulnerability, that was harder. He had read hundreds of books on human psychology and happiness, yet never quite felt it himself. That was, until one cold evening changed everything. It was late, almost midnight. Bill was sitting in his study, surrounded by papers and screens, reviewing notes for a humanitarian project. His assistant had gone home hours ago. The house was silent except for the faint ticking of a clock. He rubbed his eyes and leaned back, exhausted. His phone buzzed, a message from his old friend, Melvin, who had been battling cancer. It said only 5 words, "Still awake? Need to talk." Without hesitation, Bill called him. Melvin's voice was weak, yet calm. "Hey, Bill, sorry to bother you." "You're not bothering me," Bill said softly. "How are you feeling?" There was a pause. Then Melvin said quietly, "I'm not sure how much longer I'll have." Bill's chest tightened. He didn't know what to say. Melvin laughed faintly. "You know, Bill, I've spent my whole life working, chasing numbers, goals, deals. And now, lying here, I realized something. I never learned how to love people properly. I loved success, not life." Those words hit Bill like a wave. Melvin continued, "You're the smartest man I know. But don't make my mistake. Don't let life end before you learn what love feels like." Bill sat there in silence, staring at the wall. His friend's voice trembled. "I'm not talking about romantic love," Melvin said. "I'm talking about love for people. For small things. For time itself. The love that makes you grateful just to be here." Then his voice broke. "You can't buy that, Bill. You have to live it." That night, long after the call ended, Bill couldn't sleep. He walked out to his garden, barefoot on the cold grass, staring up at the stars. He thought about all the things he had built, all the goals he had achieved, and how few moments he had truly felt. He had helped millions through his work. Yet he rarely stopped to feel the love behind those actions. It was all logic, all purpose, never emotion. And suddenly, he felt a strange ache, not sadness, but a kind of emptiness he couldn't name. For the first time, he whispered to himself, "Maybe I don't know what love really means." The next morning, instead of heading to his office, Bill drove out to the city quietly. No bodyguards, no assistant, just himself. He parked near a small community center that provided meals for homeless people, one of the many projects his foundation funded. But this time, he didn't come as Bill Gates the philanthropist. He walked inside like any volunteer, put on gloves, and started helping serve breakfast. No one recognized him at first. He poured coffee, handed out bread, and smiled at tired faces who had been through far worse than he could imagine. Then an elderly woman with frail hands looked up at him and said, "Thank you, son." He froze for a second. Those 3 words, simple, honest, human, felt warmer than anything he'd heard in years. "Thank you," she repeated, smiling softly. "Not for the food. For looking at me like a person." Bill blinked. "Of course. You are a person." She laughed gently. Many people forget that. Those words stayed with him all day. After the shift, Bill sat outside the center, watching kids play in the small park nearby. Their laughter echoed in the air, unfiltered and pure. He saw a little girl trip and fall. Before anyone could reach her, another kid rushed over, helped her up, brushed the dirt from her knees, and gave her a piece of candy. No reward, no expectation, just kindness. Bill smiled faintly. That, he thought, is love. Over the next few weeks, he started doing something unusual. Every Sunday, he would visit that same community center, not as a donor, but as a helper. He served food, cleaned tables, talked to people. He listened to their stories, stories of loss, hope, laughter, and pain. One day, a little boy named Sam came up to him, holding a paper heart he'd drawn. "This is for you, mister," the boy said proudly. Bill smiled. "For me? Why?" "Because you always smile when you give food. My mom says that's love." Bill felt his throat tighten. He took the paper heart carefully and said, "Your mom is right." That paper heart stayed in his jacket pocket for weeks. One evening, after volunteering, Bill was walking back to his car when he noticed an old man sitting by the sidewalk, shivering. Bill walked over and offered him a blanket from his car. The man looked up and said, "Why are you doing this?" Bill shrugged. "Because it's cold." The man smiled sadly. "No, I mean, why you? You look like someone who doesn't need to care." Bill sat beside him on the curb and said quietly, "That's exactly why I need to." The man looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Then maybe you've already found love." That night, Bill went home and opened his laptop. He started typing, not code, not reports, but words from his heart. He wrote about everything he had seen and felt in those weeks. He wrote about the woman who thanked him for looking at her kindly, the child who gave him a paper heart, the laughter of people who had nothing yet shared everything. And at the end, he wrote one line that became the heart of his next speech. "Love isn't what you get. It's what you give without counting." Months later, during a rare interview, a journalist asked him, "Mr. Gates, you've changed a lot in recent years. You seem more human. What happened?" Bill smiled, holding that same paper heart in his hand. "I finally understood something," he said softly. "For most of my life, I tried to measure success in numbers, dollars, projects, impact. But love doesn't work that way. You can't count it. You can only feel it." The interviewer leaned forward. "So what does love mean to you now?" Bill looked thoughtful. "Love," he said, "is when you stop trying to fix people and start trying to understand them. When you listen without needing to speak. When you care without needing to control. When you give, not because you should, but because you want to." He smiled. "Love is peace with a heartbeat." The interviewer paused, clearly moved. "That's beautiful," she said. "And unexpected." Bill chuckled softly. "It took me a lifetime to learn it." That night, he visited the lake near his home, the same place he went whenever he needed to think. He stood by the water, holding the paper heart in his hand, and whispered, "Thank you, Melvin." Because he knew his late friend's words had led him here. He finally understood that love wasn't about romance or grand gestures. It was about presence, kindness, the quiet power of caring for someone without expecting anything back. He smiled, feeling the cool wind on his face, and for the first time in his life, he didn't feel lonely. He felt love everywhere. In the laughter of strangers. In the touch of gratitude. In the heartbeat of silence. And that was the moment Bill Gates finally admitted what love really meant to him.